For Our Soil's Sake is brought to you by Holistic Management Canada. My hope is to feed our souls by having meaningful conversations with farmers, producers, and experts in agriculture to get a greater understanding of management practices that mitigate climate change, improve water quality, build soil health, and enhance habitat and biodiversity on agricultural landscapes. To give those of us who live in the city a better understanding of how what we consume directly affects our health and the health of the land. My name is Bronwyn Green, and I'll be your host. So for our soil's sake, let's dig right in. Thank you for tuning into the show. Joining us today, we have Trent Alexander from Little Lane Acres. Little Lane Acres is 900 acres of crop. They have 130 head of cattle on pasture, and it's just outside of Lenore, Manitoba. This past summer, his farm was involved in Holistic Management Canada's Accelerator program, and that program just sets out to speed up the adoption of regenerative agriculture practices here in Manitoba. So Trent's here today to share his experience in the program and tell his farm story. Welcome, Trent. Thanks for joining us.
Oh yeah, thanks for putting this together, Bronwyn. It's good that you're doing all this for us.
Awesome. Did you want to just start off a little bit by saying some stuff about yourself?
I certainly can. So yeah, I farm here with my parents. We put in about roughly 900 acres of uh, grain land, so that's wheat, canola, barley, oats, that sort of stuff. And then we have 130 cows that we calve out every winter and spring. Um, that's kind of the gist of our operation right now.
Awesome. Do you guys just have cows? Do you have pigs too?
Oh, yeah. I guess in the summertime, I buy pigs that I feed out and sell direct market those pigs. I don't keep any sows or boars around because that's not quite set up for that yet.
Right. Okay.
Apparently, they're a bit of work, and I just haven't got it done yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole nother beast keeping them over the winter, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. I'm not. I just haven't got around to it yet. So maybe someday.
Cool. Okay. And how long have you been farming for?
Came back to the farm in 2012. So I guess 10 years. 10 years this year.
Okay.
Would have been my tenth crop this year.
And so you grew up on this farm? This was your family farm? Like your parents farmed it before you?
Yeah. My mom and dad they're still farming at the yard that I grew up in, and I came back to the farm and bought the yard where my dad grew up in. Like, grandma was here at the time and bought that from her, and I guess makes me, I think, fourth generation, all said
Awesome.
and done here. So
Neat. Cool. What were you, how come you left the farm? What were you doing, when you like graduated high school, or what kind of took you away from the farm in between
uh,
those?
I after high school I went and I took a college course in Brannard at Assiniboine Community College. I went for a heavy duty slash farm mechanic or technician.
Okay.
That was a 2-year program I did there. Excuse me. And from there, I went and kind of wherever it took me from there. I went and worked at a few different dealerships. Worked in Shoal Lake for 3 years and got my red seal there. So that made me, I guess, a full-fledged mechanic.
Yeah.
And then from there, I moved to Winnipeg and worked in Eli for 3 years. I believe it was 3 years.
Okay.
And then, left that job and worked John Deere for a little bit. And then I finished in the city, at the city of Winnipeg for a year and a half. So I kind of toured around for a little while and figured out what life was all about, I guess.
Nice. Did you kind of have an idea that you were always going to come back to the farm and end up farming?
It was always sort of the plan. I figured I'd go and get some, like I say, some off-farm experience, which I'm told is never a bad thing.
Yeah.
And then come back and still do a bit of stuff here in the shop we have here, and so it's been handy to be able to fix the equipment for sure.
Oh yeah, mechanic is pretty high in demand for running a farm, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean it's not. I can always go and do that if things come down to it. So it's not not a bad thing.
Absolutely. Do you have an off-farm job right now, or are you solely getting your income from the farm?
It's all from the farm now. I
Awesome.
when I came back originally, I worked up and I went back to Shoal Lake for well, it was close to 4 years. I think I worked up there, kind of part time.
Okay.
But then it got to be the point where it was almost pick one
Yeah.
because it was I'd go to work and come back and get to work again. So it was getting to be too much
Right.
for
Where
everyone here. So
where would you say your passion lies? Like you've done a lot of like large machinery mechanic type things, and then there's also the farming. Where do you think your passion stems from?
that's a good question. I don't know. I passion for just in general, I guess, is what you're
Yeah.
asking.
Yeah.
Well, right now my passion's all about the regen ag right now, and
Awesome.
it's I think it's slowly well it's picking up steam a lot faster now. That's for sure. Like it seemed like it was kind of going slow, and no one was really adopting it, and it seems like more and more is happening all the time. So it's good to see that.
Yeah, it's like encouraging you not feel like you're just doing it on your own because other people are starting to pick up on how great it can be.
Yeah, even just around here, we have a little grazing club that's kind of takes care of a lot of ideas like that, and we meet once in a while, and everyone has a good idea about something. So it's you slowly see guys around here adopting different things just because of that too. So,
Oh, fantastic. When did you hear about regenerative ag? Like when did that kind of come into your forefront?
ooh, hmm, I guess it was I went and saw Joel Salatin in Winnipeg. He was at some conference. I can't even remember what the conference was, but we saw him 2010 or 2011,
Okay.
and yeah, I guess it was kind of hard to understand exactly where he was coming from for a conventional farmer because I was up until that point it was all I knew was conventional,
Right.
and yeah, to see what he was doing was really something. And then so that kind of got the seed in there and got you thinking about other things are possible, right?
Yep.
And then I don't know, it wasn't that long after I got back to the farm. I don't remember exactly when, but Michael Teely. I don't know if you
Yep. Yeah,
everyone
I've met
knows.
Mike.
I'm sure everyone's met Mike, of
Everyone
course.
knows Michael.
Who hasn't met Michael Teely?
Yeah.
Uh, he organized Gabe Brown to come
Oh,
to Lenore
oh wow.
at one point. So saw Gabe Brown in Lenore, Manitoba, which is looking back is just bonkers. It doesn't even make any sense that he was
I
there.
know. He's like one of my idols. I was like, that's
Now
crazy to know that
he's
he
a
came
rock
from
star,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
But saw him there, and just what he's doing was it just merely makes the person think that there's more to it than what we know, right? So
Yeah. Okay. So as soon as you saw it, you kind of were like grabbed onto it, thought it was a good idea, and from there, did you take a holistic management course?
I have taken it. I took it in I don't know when it was 2016 or 17,
Oh,
and
nice.
again that was put together, and it came to Lenore, which is I don't know how this happens to Lenore, but it's awesome
Yeah.
because we have a population of I don't know, not very many,
Yeah. Is
but
that
it's
how the
good.
grazing club kind of developed, or that was something separate?
It's the grazing club's been going here for quite a while. To tell you the truth, there's some the older generation had started it, and now it's kind of changed, and it's yeah. I'm not really sure when it started, but it's well before that.
Okay, cool.
Like I say, Michael Teely had been doing a lot of groundwork here to make that happen, and
Right. Behind the scenes, just putting everybody together.
exactly, yeah, that's sort of his jam.
Cool. Okay. And so for the listeners who don't have too much information about what a holistic management course would be like, it is kind of multiple different parts, but one of them is building a context for your farm. So defining the whole that you're managing, whether that be a farm or a business or a family, and developing that context that you're going to be working from, and kind of referring back to all your decisions and actions towards that context, and kind of laying out the things that you have to do and actions you have to take to fulfill that. So your context would kind of be like your quality of life and how you want to live your life now and how you want to live your life in the future. And so I just want to see if Trent has a holistic context for his farm, or kind of like an objective or goal of the farm, and kind of like what's that intention.
I do. I have my holistic goal. I just pulled up in front of me here at the moment. Just having a look at it here. Yeah, I have some parts I'll share with you for sure. Some of it's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
rough, but
it's your own thing, so don't feel the pressure to share it all.
yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, the whole to be managed is all the farm and the land and the animals, obviously. And my quality, I have broken down into parts here. So I'll just my one part is the quality of life, and so yeah, I want to live well, be debt free, and be able to enjoy what I do every day, and to work with nature in order to improve the health of the land, and to be proud of the product that I am supplying to customers. So that's kind of what how I want my life to look, I guess, if that
Wonderful.
makes sense. I think
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
You never know. You write things down and don't really read them out loud.
Yeah. And then you go
Uh,
back and you're like, oh, I did say that. Yep.
yeah, yeah. Well, and that's maybe the point too, I guess. Right? You go back and oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But what else do I have here? Forms of production. That seems to be one of the points, I guess. And that's I have down is profit from livestock and crops without compromising my values, and to work with nature rather than against her as much as possible in all things, but don't overlook the use of technology when needed. I think
Fantastic.
that's yeah, fairly straightforward. I think. Um, yeah, and that's kind of the gist of it. That's how I want to do things and why I'm doing them, I guess.
Right. And you find yourself referring back to it when you make some decisions, or
Not as much as I should.
right.
Maybe it's yeah, it's hard to always do that, but I try to yeah base more and more decisions on what I want things to look like rather than what we've always done or whatever. I guess I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. No, that's good. How come you applied for the Regenerative Accelerator program?
Well, sounded like a pretty good deal to me. To be able to just I think I wanted to be able to take a project that I had been thinking about doing and not have to worry about um I I guess it felt like maybe if I had this project to do that I'd almost be force myself to do it more than I would otherwise.
Yeah. No,
If
that
that
makes
makes
sense.
like you have a deadline and people are kind of counting on you to get it done, so it's that way I kind of had to do it.
That's a great
Which
answer. You got the pressure of your mentor and all of us at
right?
Holistic Management asking you how the project's going every month.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Better pressure to get it done, and it got mostly done. It's still not quite finished, but we're getting there.
Sweet. What was the project that you implemented or that you're working on?
Well, I had a quarter of land that I've never seen a cow on. I don't think it's ever had a fence around it,
Mhm.
and so that was a project to fence that quarter and build and put in a pipeline for watering the cattle. And so now I can once it's done, I'll be able to use cover crops and other practices out there that weren't available without a fence around it.
Right.
And so that's sort of the plan there. It's
Nice.
not a real glamorous project or anything, but it's like I say, one that needed to be done and it wasn't getting done. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's okay. Fencing is pretty key in this game, so
it is, yeah. And I mean that's about the only piece of land that we don't have a fence around. So hopefully it we get to use it.
okay, cool. And so I talked with you a few weeks ago, and I thought it'd be cool if you could share a little bit more about this topic, because I know that our listeners don't know too much about it. I've studied it a little bit, but none of the farms that I've been on have really implemented it too much. But the concept of adaptive multi-paddock grazing system, and so there's all different types of grazing. People call it like rotational grazing, planned grazing, um, high density grazing. So what kind of grazing system do you use on your farm?
I guess I try to use, well, it's not with all the cattle yet, but I have a group that I like to do adaptive multi-paddock grazing with. I don't like to label it high density or label it something other than adaptive, because if you're not adaptive, then it's, I don't know, you get stuck in a system that way,
Right.
and you're working with a system rather than um, I don't know, being able to adapt and be flexible with how the year's going or how things are going in general, I guess.
Right.
So the adaptive part is, I guess, always monitoring the land and the cattle to make sure that things still are going the direction you want them to.
Hmm. Right. So system's like completely the wrong word to use when describing it because a
Well,
system
kind of, yeah. It's like a
doing
system's kind
over
of
and
a
over again rather than
right. And don't get me wrong. Sometimes I get stuck just moving them, and kind of things get like when we're busy in the field or something, things kind of get little left behind. But um, yeah, trying to always be able to adapt and change what's going on out there.
right. And so in the paddock part is the idea as versus of just having a large pasture and just kind of kicking the cows out on that large pasture for the entire season and then bringing them in, or having two pastures and breaking it up. Um, you're doing multiple paddocks in each pasture so that you give more time for the rest of the pasture to rest.
Correct. Yeah. Like so say you have a 160-acre quarter of land that you would normally just throw the cattle out on the summer and shut the gate and you're done. Um, Now instead of that, I take electric reels, they're not electric reels, but they're polywire
Right.
on reels and electric fencing equipment, and fence off so much of that land, enough for as long as I want my moves to be. Like say I want to move them every day, then I only fence off, depending on again number of cattle and a lot of factors, but say an acre or two a day, and move them accordingly from there, and do that. Take down the wire and set up again the next day if I'm doing daily, or every 3 days, depending what what's working.
Right.
So
Okay.
that way the grass that they've been on has a set number of days to recover
Right.
and regrow before we hit it again.
Awesome. Do you have some paddocks or pastures that you only hit once a year, or you got it tight enough that you're able to kind of go over more than once on most of them?
I do try to get over them most of the time twice, but this year it worked out. We got over everything with that group just once, all said and done. They did a bit of second grazing, but not a lot.
Okay.
So I guess my holistic plan for grazing wasn't exactly deadly precise, but it was the kind of year it was too. So yeah, it depends on the year. And this year we had lots of grass with
Right.
the rains we had in the spring and stuff. So it was a lot easier to manage.
Last year, was it a struggle with the drought? Did you kind of feel the effects of that?
Yeah, yeah, no, it's got a little dicey there for a bit, but I think with as dry as it was, the adaptive multi-paddock grazing kept the cattle on that land longer, because they were only given so much, and that grass was allowed more time to recover.
Right.
We actually pulled cattle off of a different paddock that we had, only a few, but pulled some off of a set stock paddock and brought them to the multi-paddock grazing, just because it was going well enough that we figured we could put more cattle on it yet. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah, we were grazing, had grass ahead of them all year last year, even with the drought. So it's kind of, that's enough of a reason to do it for me right there.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you Have you seen like significant improvements? Because for so long you guys were conventionally farming. Since you started implementing this adaptive multi-paddock grazing, have you noticed significant differences in the land?
I wouldn't say well, not significant, but things are certainly changing. A lot of the land that I'm doing it on is native, and
Okay.
so I'm told it takes the native stuff a lot longer to start showing bigger improvements.
Yep.
For I'm not exactly sure the details on as to why that is exactly, but it seems to be the case. There's places where there is all that was growing, all that was growing, I should say, was just foxtail,
Right.
and it's a weed that the cattle don't eat. They won't eat it, or I haven't got them to. Let's say that.
And even if they do, I've heard quite a bit that it causes quite a bit of damage in their
Yeah,
stomach,
it's
mouths, and
quite quite pointy stuff. It's not a. I wouldn't want to eat it. Let's say that.
yeah, looks pretty.
um,
Doesn't look tasty at all.
no, it looks pretty pointy, is what it looks to me.
Yeah.
But the places that there's some low spots that there was a lot of foxtail, but it seems since we've been doing this, the all the more palatable species are starting to grow back through that again.
Right.
And even this year, with as wet as it was, didn't see very much foxtail in the worst of spots. So I
That's all.
mean, that in itself is a win. Um, and I think that's the biggest improvement I've seen on the native pasture for sure.
Right.
I
Okay.
guess the thing we'll have to see with the EOV how things look. I guess next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so those who don't know, a part of the program, Trent was given EOV monitoring. So that's the ecological outcome verification assessment methodology, and we're measuring the ecological health on his land. And so, since it was the first year, we kind of only gave a baseline of how healthy the four different ecosystem processes are on each pasture. And so from there, the hope is that Trent can work from it, and each year he can see the difference in the improvements in that water cycle, mineral cycle, energy flow, and community dynamic. So yes, we're working on your report. It is coming. So yeah, it's hard to say what until you actually have this scientific data that actually shows the improvement and the carbon that's being sequestered. It's hard to speak on it, but just those visual observations sometimes are a big indicator that change is happening.
Yeah, no, I've seen you bring that point up, the community dynamic, and I've definitely seen some plants growing out there that I haven't seen there before too.
Right.
So I mean that's a big thing too. I'm sure it's I'm no expert on all the plants, mind you, but I'm pretty sure it's a common vetch I've seen growing in places, and I know I have never seen it there.
That's all. And you never seeded that either, so it's
Nope,
just
it's coming out of the
something.
seed bank. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and I feel very novice about plants and ecology still, but you were talking about the native species, and I think I've heard a few people tell me that yeah, it takes longer for those native species to establish. And so when you are giving it that time to rest because you're doing the paddock grazing, these species can come back because they're having longer to rest than the common key species that we normally see, like bluegrass and stuff like that. That comes pretty
Right.
quick.
All the yeah, exactly. And I want to say it is getting better in places, and hopefully those places just keep growing right outwards.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Um, and so I'm just curious because you direct market, and there's very few of you who do the direct marketing. And so, how do you find that? Do you find it challenging? Have you been doing it long enough that you've built a network or a customer base that's reliable, or are you still kind of figuring that out?
um, well, every year seems like trying to figure another piece out, but this year it's gone fairly well. It's the first year I've taken on all the marketing myself, so it's been a bit of a learning curve, but yeah, it's not bad. We have a network of people.
Nice. Are
And
they kind of out near you guys, or do you go to Winnipeg or Brandon?
yeah, I've been going to Winnipeg, Eli, Brandon, um, Austin. I have a customer there that's actually sold more beef than I have. I think for me, it seems he's pretty good at selling it. I guess so. It's
Good word
not
of
a
mouth.
bad thing. Yeah, exactly. They
Awesome.
bought. Austin bought 2.5 beef for me, so it's been kind of a big deal there. Just want to keep them happy.
Yeah. Well, if you got a
Um,
good product, then that's good too.
yes, yeah, exactly. It's been a network of friends and family in the city. Like luckily I had a network of people in the city from when I lived there,
Right.
and so it's just a matter of kind of reconnecting and making it work.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. What would you say? I'm going to go back a little bit back to passions and stuff like that. What would you say the biggest challenge of farming is up to this point? And it could be like a specific event where you're like, this was super challenging. I didn't expect it. Or it's just this day to day thing that is challenging that maybe somebody who doesn't farm doesn't know about.
Hmm. Um, I'd have to say the biggest challenge is trying to adopt these new practices. To tell you
Right.
the truth, like I still farm with my parents,
Mm-hmm.
and dad wants to make it work, but some days it's a struggle for him to see the value in a lot of it.
Right.
And not that not that he's not behind me. It's because he is, but it's tough for him to see things change.
Yeah, it's not, you don't get this return right away. So it's hard to see why would I be doing stuff so different if you're not
Exactly,
necessarily seeing the return immediately.
because a lot of things with farming happen right now, or they're not worth doing. Right, like you take a spray out, you spray a chemical, and you see the weeds die. That's that's a thing we did. It happened. It worked. Whereas with the grazing, it's more of a long game for sure.
Yeah. It's
And
cool
you're not.
that they're still supporting you, but it makes sense that even that mindset is still hard to change sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a struggle. That's the hardest thing I think for me.
Okay.
Some days it feels like you're kind of on an island doing it on your own, but um, I know I'm not, but
Yeah.
it feels like it sometimes. But there's getting to be, like I say, more people around, neighbors and everyone doing it too. So
Right.
it's building for
Getting
sure.
do what would you say your favorite thing about farming is?
Holy, I don't know, being out on the land and being able to do that every day, whether it's early morning, going to move the cows, and it's just peaceful,
Mhm.
or riding home in the quad in the evening and the sun setting, and it's just, I don't know, it feels good to be out and about doing that kind of stuff.
Just good for
And
the soul.
yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, it's sometimes you can just be at peace.
Yeah. Wow. That's wonderful. I know that it's like I'm counting down the days of spring because I don't work on farm all year round. I only go out for the summer, so I'm just counting down for spring to end, and then now that fall is here, everyone's like, "How sad are you that you're back in the city?" I'm like, "I can't. Let's just not talk about it."
Right. Yeah, no, it's yeah, that's the biggest thing to me, is just being able to be part of it, be part of nature, and sometimes you just sit there and you feel like you're one with it, right?
Absolutely. Cool. Okay, now this is my my pipe dream question. If you had an endless amount of money, endless amount of time, endless amount of resources, what would you change about your farm?
Oh man. I guess an option isn't just to go sit in Mexico, eh?
Still an option. Hire help so that you can go to Mexico for a
Yeah,
s
there you go. No, I'd still farm, I think. I'm not sure what I'd change. I don't know. I'd probably, if I didn't have to worry about anything, I'd have her all sewn down to grass, and it'd be a custom grazing operation, I think.
Fantastic, okay.
It'd just be green grass everywhere.
Right. The crops are that's a revenue stream, so that's kind of why it's not all grass right now?
Yeah, I mean the part of the country that we live in, it's you almost have to have both to make it work.
Right,
The opportunity cost on seeding down all the cropland to pasture, just it doesn't economically make sense at the
right.
moment.
Yep,
So I mean, yes, exactly what it is a revenue stream. Yeah,
right.
and as much I yeah detest. Well, I don't detest it, but I'm the one in charge of spraying and stuff, and it's sometimes it's hard. It's just
Yeah.
you know it's not right
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, but it has to be done at this point in time.
Right. There's almost that like ignorance is bliss in conventional farming, but as soon as you start understanding it more on an ecological level, it's hard.
Yeah, like I say, it's one of those things you just can't. Once you're into this stuff, you can't unsee it.
Yeah,
You can't
totally.
just close your eyes and blindly keep going forward when you know you're doing what you're doing with the sprays. So
Yeah. Well, I think you can. It just that's the difference between you and other. Which makes
right,
Trent that you don't
yeah,
just go and yeah.
you have to
Okay.
realize what you're doing when you're like in my holistic management goal. There, it was not saying to not use technology, but to use it where you need to, rather than like think about it before you go and do it. I guess know what you're doing.
Exactly. And like a part of regenerative agriculture for those who don't know, like using pesticides isn't ruled out. That's just a tool. And so it's just understanding when to use it and what makes the most sense for your context.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's right. It's everything. Regen Ag doesn't take any of the tools out of the toolbox,
Exactly.
which is, I think, an important piece of the whole puzzle there too. So
Yeah. More inclusive, less exclusive.
exactly, and using the things that you have rather than, I guess, kind of pigeonholing yourself into not using certain things.
Yep.
If that's your thing, if you want to use it,
Makes
but know
sense.
what you're doing.
Totally. Okay. Um, for our listeners here who are interested in farming, but don't have any experience farming and don't know anybody who's farming, where would you tell them to start?
Hmm. Um. Yeah. I mean, I think there's getting to be enough people around that would act as a mentor. I'm sure, for people wanting to go that way. To be able to find someone like that, I'm really not aware of anyone at the moment that I can think of, but start there, and hopefully they allow you to start your own herd or have a few cattle in their herd, or whatever it is you're wanting to do. Start small and slowly build your project or dream, I guess, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Find a mentor. I think that's a great.
Yeah, that's where I'd start. There's lots around. I just, like I say, I'm not real sure about any. I don't know of any around here. Let's say that.
Right. But yeah, find a mentor and even like joining these groups. Yeah, Ducks Unlimited and stuff like that and getting out there and just meeting people in the field.
Yeah, and go to conferences. I was just at a conference for the Manitoba Forage and Grasslands Association in
Oh, wow.
Brandon.
Right.
That was just Monday, Tuesday there. It's Wednesday here today, I guess. Yeah, 2 days ago, and it was good. It's so good to be in a building with so many like-minded people,
Yeah.
right? Everyone's on the same page, and everyone's there for the same reason, and it's the power in that is amazing.
Yeah.
To
How
go
was
and
Was it good? Was that kind of the highlight? It's seeing everybody in this network and getting to like see people and kind of know that we're all coming from the same background of understanding. Yeah, just understanding farming in a different, doing it a different way.
right, yeah, no, it's that's I think the biggest thing is to see people you haven't seen for a year and network again, and yeah, talk and listen to the speakers that we had, and it was pretty good.
Awesome, cool. And just like a little plug here for holistic management, there is actually a conference in February, and so that we're going to have our annual holistic management uh, conference, and so that'll be in February, and so people can
It's
look
out
forward.
west, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in. Is it Lloydminster? Is that
I think I was talking to Ralph there yesterday, and that's what he said. I think.
okay? Yeah, so it's and yeah out west, but and I'm not even sure if they're doing the video version where you can tune in,
Yeah, I'm not too sure either.
but yeah, if you can make it out there, it's quite nice seeing everybody and networking, and you can find some pretty cool resources there.
Yeah, and I guess that's a roundabout way of saying if you're interested in farming, go to some of these things,
Yeah, totally.
because it's you probably find someone there that would happily mentor you.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to wrap it up with a couple more questions and see if there's anything that you're working on, any projects that you're excited about, anything happening in the near future that you're looking forward to.
Um, Not at the moment. To tell you the truth, I haven't got anything really on my plate going into the winter here. But
It's all good.
I'm thinking coming out of winter, I'll have some ideas. The
Oh,
old YouTube University will give me some ideas, I'm sure.
oh yeah, we're coming into that snow season, so this is the time to do all the research and planning.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got no other real big projects. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the thing I'm most excited about on the farm right now is that I'm starting to calve a few cows later on in the spring,
Okay,
and so we're changing. Like we have traditionally calved in February, January, February, March kind of time of year,
right.
and that apparently wouldn't happen in nature.
No.
So I'm working on changing a few cows over to May calving,
Oh,
which I
awesome.
think is a bit better time, but we'll see how that goes. We're gonna try it on pasture this year.
That is exciting.
It is, and I'm a little bit nervous to tell you the truth because I haven't ever seen it happen. But it's it goes against everything I was taught about calving cows. But here we go. So
Yeah, it's so good for you for trying this stuff. It's really
I
inspiring.
yeah, it is. It has to be done, and it's like I say, it's makes me a bit nervous because I get the feeling that if it doesn't work out very well, it's not gonna fly. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
I think it has to work, and
yeah,
maybe if it doesn't work, then maybe we just haven't got the right cows for it, right? So
right.
we've been building a system for the cows, or how does that work? We've been building or buying cows that fit our system rather than making a system for the cows.
Yep, right.
Is that the right way of saying it?
No, it
Does that
makes
make
sense.
sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Yeah,
Rather than having a system, yeah, like feeding the cows and doing it that way, we have cows that work in our system rather than a system that works for the cattle.
absolutely. You want to have the right cows that work in your context as opposed
Yes,
to trying to work around them.
that's a way better way of saying it, Bronwyn.
I've heard it before. I stole it from.
I'm glad one of us had it. That's good.
Yeah. No, that's super exciting. And so, in February and January, when you were calving in the past, that would be in the barn, right? You'd bring each of them in, or
Yeah, yeah, we have well down at mom and dad's they have a a cabin barn, yeah. So we and cameras and the whole deal down there to watch them calving and stuff.
right?
And so yeah, they calve and got to go out there before they get frozen and bring them into the insulated part, and then they stay there for as long as it takes, a day ish, and then out they go into a pen. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's every 3 hours we're checking them.
Oh, wow.
So
It's quite a
yeah,
different experience when they are on pasture in labor. Just from my own experience, and this was the first farm I ever went to last year, and they calved on pasture, and it just like, yeah, you just leave them. You just they
right,
just do their thing, and it's a very strange feeling of them
right.
going through that ordeal and your hands off. It's very different.
But at the same time, it's and why do we have to help them?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? You don't
Yeah.
see us out there pulling deer babies out of them and not right.
Exactly.
Like it's just it's a whole mindset, and the less you have to do stuff with the cattle, the better.
Right.
In my opinion, I mean, there's certain things you got to do, obviously, and if they need help, they're gonna get help.
Totally.
But I guess the point is they shouldn't need help.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's trying and like yeah, all the guys conventional way of calving cows is to have the big birth weights and have them way up big in the fall, right?
Yeah.
For when you go to sell them.
Hmm.
But I guess with this mentality, you're instead of making more on the fall end of it, you're spending less on the spring end of it.
Exactly.
And so I think profits ideally are going to be very similar.
Yep.
It's just instead of trying to get these big 800-pound calves going through the ring, you're selling a 600-pound calf, but you spend a way less on it.
Exactly. And that's not even talking about the labor that it took to raise that cow because it's
Right,
quite different when they're on pasture.
And the pasture cows are definitely a smaller frame cow, and they're not going to eat near as much as the big old girls that we've been putting through the barn. So
Yep. That
there's
sounds
a lot of factors.
nice. That's exciting. That's very exciting to look forward to.
Yeah, like I say, it's sure hope it goes well.
Is
I can't
your
see it not.
dad nervous?
Oh, I'm sure he's more nervous than he lets on. Yeah, but we had 17 that we calved in May, but they were still in the calving area.
Yeah.
But we didn't help one of them. So I mean, same bull, same cattle should work.
Awesome. I look forward to
Um,
hearing what happens.
yeah, well, you won't hear anything if it's a wreck.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. And so I just want to share some resources with the listeners on where they can hear more about you or follow along your journey. So do you have social media, website, newsletter? How can they get a hold of you so that they can either support you by buying products or just hear more about you?
Wow. I'm not really up to on the social media very much. I do have Facebook. That's I guess it's Little Lane Acres
Awesome.
is my Facebook page, and I have a bit of information on there. Not a lot of pictures, but I'm trying to do more of it. But yeah, that's pretty much my social media footprint right there.
Okay, perfect. So they can find you on Facebook. And then for those who are listening, will also post some links on our website and our Instagram, just talking a little bit more about Trent and yeah, how you can contact him in the future. Well, thank you so much for coming here and sharing your story with me and our listeners.
Yeah, no, it went about as well as it could have, I think. So,
Yeah, I thought it was great. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
and thanks for the opportunity, Bronwyn.
You're welcome. To learn more about holistic management, regenerative farming principles, and the farms in Manitoba that are implementing these practices, check out our Instagram and Facebook page or visit our website at holisticmanagement.ca. And make sure to sign up to our newsletter so we can let you know about all the upcoming events and learning opportunities in your area. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss in the future on this podcast, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. For our soil's sake, thanks for listening in, everyone.